Hello, everyone. Walk Hill Bethelite here. And we talked a little bit about Jesus Christ and the uh, inaccurate historical depiction of Jesus as a Caucasian male. And there's a few people, maybe quite a few people, who think that it doesn't matter what culture Jesus was from. It doesn't matter what Jesus looked like. That those things just don't matter. And that type of a concept is something that I don't think originally comes from the Bible. Because when you go into the Bible, different groups of people matter. Those 12 tribes as in different groups of people, types of people, people who came from a certain lineage, that mattered. When you look at Abraham, the people that came from him, his family line, mattered. Israel, all these people, there was a great deal of importance put on cultural background, your bloodline, who you were. Those things matter. So when people today say that, culture, where you're from, lineage, bloodline, all those things don't matter, which they posted in the last video I did about Jesus not being white. Where is that concept coming from? That concept, it's not coming from God. If you're a Christian, you feel that, the Bible, you may feel that Christian tradition, you may feel that there's certain concepts that come from God, and you can originate the source of that concept, but the concept that just, it doesn't matter, race and all these things just don't matter. Where did that concept originate from? Is that satanic in of itself? When you think about it, Israel, Jerusalem, there's importance that Christians put. People who want to follow Christ, people who read the Bible, people who read the Quran, there is importance that people put on physical locations. Not even a person, a physical location, Mecca. People will save their money for long periods of time to take a trip to Mecca. And if you ask a Muslim who's taking a trip to Mecca, this person could have traveled all over. But you ask them the most important trip that they've taken, they'll probably say Mecca. If you ask a Christian who's been to Jerusalem and seen those actual locations, physical locations in the Bible, and these people could have been Disney World, Disneyland, all kinds of places. What's the most important trip that they've taken? Most likely they'll say, I went to Jerusalem. I walked in the same streets that Jesus walked in. People put importance, a great deal of importance, in just the street Jesus walked through. But you mean to tell me that the entire race and culture of the man himself, that there's a God man that walked the earth, and his race, culture, and what he looked like and all this stuff don't matter? there is obviously a motive for saying that that don't matter, because it obviously does. Otherwise, all those other things wouldn't matter. You can bet that if the United States sent a missile into Israel, like the United States sends missiles into Iran and everywhere else, that's like political suicide. Like people who are Christian care about those physical locations. Well, who decided that we want to eliminate the concept that family trees and bloodlines and races of people and all those things don't matter? My personal opinion that concept doesn't originate with God, because if you can eliminate cultures of people that apparently God felt was important, because he could have picked any group of people. And he picked the group of people over there, nowhere near America, nowhere near Europe. He picked those people. He could have picked anybody. He picked those people. An angel could have came up to any woman and said, "You're going to birth." He picked a woman from this particular group of people. It could have been anybody that, culture or group of people mentioned in the Bible, but there was an Ethiopian mention, Ethiopian unit. There's a lot of people that feel like these people have the Ark of the Covenant. They wouldn't have it if God didn't want it there. If you're a Christian, they're not going to have the Ark of the Covenant if God didn't want it there. When you read in the Bible what happened to people who weren't supposed to have the Ark of the Covenant, things like that, and obtained it. Well, all kinds of plagues, and these people were dropping dead, and all kinds of. They wouldn't have it all this time if God didn't want it there. As a matter of fact, if America was just this place where God felt that there was this great apostasy, all these people stopped following him, and America, for some reason, is just a place of interest, Ark of the Covenant would be here. Relics that people feel are important, they would move him here. Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem, would be here. Like, locations and places matter. So then the question would be, if the people that God chose, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, these people were not in America. These people were of a darker complexion, many of them. The question then becomes, well, if when God did pick people, he picked them. Who are the people here in America who are saying they have God's favor and they're leading people and they're collecting the money from all these people who want to do good? They're trying to do good. They want to be followers of Christ. Well, to be a follower of Christ, you're following some organization or some man in the middle of America, an area that God has never really, there's no biblical history at all that we're aware of, where God would have selected an organization in New York called Watchtower, and led by primarily white men. And then this is just the new Jerusalem. This is the new Israel. This is just the new. It's blatantly obvious why these things matter. Because if I can fool people, if I can pull the wool over the eyes of Christians, isn't that people? If you read the Bible, isn't that the whole thing the devil's been trying to do? Trick people, try to become an angel of light, so to speak. If you read the Bible and you know the playbook, you know the devil's trying to trick people. Well, you would think twice before thinking that God's organization is some group of primarily white men in New York. It wouldn't make any sense. You'd have no biblical history to support that. You wouldn't have any real reason to think something like that would occur in America at all. Because, for example, would God have selected to move his headquarters, to move his group of people to do anything like that in Sodom and Gomorrah? There isn't a Christian anywhere that would believe that that would have happened. If you're Muslim, you don't believe that God would have moved his primary focus and started to primarily work amongst a group of people in Sodom and Gomorrah. He could pick anywhere, and he's going to pick Sodom and Gomorrah. He in the Bible destroyed it for a reason. Well, in America, what's one of the biggest industries, if not the biggest industry? Pornography. United States of America. I mean, we don't have any biblical history to go on. We can't say that, yeah, God is going to just up and decide that he's going to primarily work amongst a group of people in America. You would think that that would be in Israel. You would think that that would be in Jerusalem. You would think that, you know what I mean? If God is going to up and just start an organization and primarily focus on it, it'd be in Jerusalem somewhere. Historically speaking, that's the case. So the question is, would it be in New York? If you're a Mormon, would it be in Utah or wherever? Do we have any reason to believe God would just up and move his focus to America? It's on the currency. In God we trust, all these things. It doesn't mean a person can't be a Christian. It doesn't mean a person can't follow Christ. It doesn't mean a person can't be a Muslim. But to think that the governing group of people, the people with the most importance, would be in America doesn't make any sense. And that's what Jehovah's Witnesses believe. God has moved his headquarters to New York City. Why would he do that? Of all places, why would he do it? Now, I wouldn't say that everybody in any particular area is all bad. I'm not saying all Americans are bad or anything like that. But we're talking about an area where pornography is a huge business here. War is a huge business here. I don't even recall a time when America wasn't in some conflict and some war, shooting missiles into somebody else's country, somewhere else, killing somebody with drones or whatever. What are you talking about where God is moving his organization to America? Why? There hadn't been a time in history where we hadn't been fighting somebody, killing somebody, blowing up something somewhere else. It ain't even like people are coming over here messing with us typically. My question is why do you think it would be okay to change the image of Christ as to be a Caucasian, a white person? Why would that be okay? Wouldn't any Christian want things to be as accurate as possible? It wouldn't just change what, well, let's just change stuff because this whole being a Christian thing, it only works if I like it. And I only like it if the person that we're talking about looks like me. I mean, that sounds like something a false Christian would say. Somebody who's not really a Christian, they just like hearing things that make them feel good. So put a image of Christ that's not accurate, completely inaccurate, up there. Tell me that God has moved his entire focus to Utah and some white guy named Joseph Smith. Tell me that God has focused all his attention in New York and some guy named Charles Taze Russell, or I mean, stuff that don't make no sense. None. No historical sense, no biblical sense. You can't find nothing in the Bible where God just up in America that just, I'm going to start picking people and start building organizations through these people. It doesn't make any sense at all. And then it makes you sit back and wonder, well, is America a Christian country? Just because they said it is doesn't mean it's true. Is America a Christian country where war is huge business? How much money goes to the military? More than any other country in the world. Probably more than any other country in the world combined. We're focused on killing. We're focused on the military. We're focused on sending people with guns all over the place. A lot of the money, meaning a lot of people's interest, is in pornography. A lot of the focus recently has been on race, and it hadn't been good. So you have law enforcement or people who work for the state, and people in their care have been ended up dead, whether they're armed or not. Some guy was shot like 7 or 8 times in the back. There seems to be in a country that's quote unquote Christian a debate as to whether or not those types of things are okay. You have a president who said something about grabbing people by the you know what. I mean, it's like you don't want to completely judge people by their past, but at the same time, you look at the big picture and why would you think God would move his chosen people to America? No reason to think that. No reason at all. Here, we're primarily focused on money, materialism, sex. Sex is everywhere. Violence. I mean, it wouldn't be on. There wouldn't be something called UFC being broadcasted all over the place if people weren't willing to pay to see violence. There's nothing godly at all. I don't know why God chose the people he chose. But there's nothing godly really about America at all that he would up and out of everywhere else choose America to pick a people, call them Jehovah's Witnesses, and say this is the one organization out of everywhere I'm going to focus on. It doesn't make any sense at all for him to pick America. The whole country wouldn't even the whole makeup of the country is a group of people that were massacred. Like there's America's the last place on earth that God would say, yeah, I'm going to set up camp over there. Race relations are bad. Freaking morality is bad. I mean, war. I mean, what else do you want to look into? There's nothing you can look into and say, yeah, God would move his people here. And that's kind of what the concept is when people are putting up images of Jesus and saying he's white. It's eliminating the fact that God directly worked with a group of people and it wasn't here. It wasn't here. That's almost like Babylon, the country of Babylon back in the day, that had all them gods saying, okay, well, we'll just adapt Judaism. Let's just put up images here and just make them all look like us. And now we just tell everybody God is here because we said so. There's no physical evidence of it. It's almost the exact same thing with America. There's just violence. There's groups of people that have been oppressed. People, for the life of them, you say something like Black Lives Matter, and I understand that the website, there's things on the website that people have a problem with. People have a problem with just saying that. And this is supposed to be where God looked everywhere and decided America is where I want to focus Christianity. Matter of fact, let's put up white Jesuses everywhere. There ain't no way. There ain't no way. We can't even figure out if police should be beating up on unarmed people or killing them or whatnot. We can't even figure that out. Back in the day, we used to watch a show called Cops, and cops would chase people. Cops would apprehend people. But I don't recall in that film or CSI Miami or none of all this stuff where cops are just walking up to random people, patting them down just because they look a certain way, or just walking up to people and jumping all over them because somebody called them and said that they feel threatened by them, or shooting the mess out of people in the back. Like, that wasn't police work in anybody's mind. But now that those things are becoming knowledgeable, the things that are actually going on are becoming knowledgeable in a nation that quote unquote is supposed to be Christian. There's debate as to whether or not those things should just be okay or not. There's no way Watchtower is God's organization. There's no way. There's no way Watchtower is God's organization. The pedophiles, there's probably a pedophile problem in America in general, but Watchtower, Jehovah's Witnesses, they have a pedophile problem. They have a problem with, you name it. They got the problem. Why do you think, just because they pass out magazines, is not a reason to think that that's God's chosen group of people? Just because they go around knocking on a bunch of doors that most people ain't opening is not a reason to think that's God. Because they printed their magazine in different languages is not a reason to think that God just up and chose he wouldn't rain fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. There ain't no way it was worse than America. There ain't no way. So, yes, the cultural region and image of Jesus matters. It does matter. Where people think the hub of Christianity is does matter, uh, and a lot of these cults are taking advantage of people who think that the historically God never picked somebody in America and said that a bunch of people should follow him. They're taking advantage of the fact that people aren't putting any kind of importance on that. People are raising huge followings, and of all these religious groups that have been in this country for as long as they've been here, you still got all the same problems. It's the whole thing in the Bible about people having a form of devotion but proving false to its power. It don't look like you've had a Christian influence here for that long. There's a church on every corner, but look at what's been going on. I mean, you've had on the news people killing their own kids and stuff like that. I mean, it's just they're on the news crying about they can't find the kids. Then you find out they're the one that killed them. There's no reason to think that this is the Christian hub and we should just put a bunch of white Jesuses everywhere, because that gives people the impression that God's main focus is in America, and I don't think it is. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Watchtower is counterfeit Christianity. God did not set up his organization in New York City. Jehovah's Witnesses, no. Comment down below. X Wall Kill Bethlite signing out.